Hello, Creative Frugal Wonder Woman, and welcome to April's Watercolor Club. I am just excited. I'm so excited that I get to do this, that I get to just sit here and unwind and play with my watercolors and to show all of you. And it's just, has anybody else had a stressful time lately? I've got a lot going on, and so I'm just super excited to be doing this beautiful little crafty gnome with you guys, because this is just so relaxing and very therapeutic. So let's get started. This month we are using our Confections Watercolors, the Tropicals from Prima Marketing. And we're going to do Crafty Gnome, this cute little Hey Gnomey card. And then on the inside it says thanks so much, because she's got mushrooms too with her that you could get. Here is the newsletter. You can see here's the stamp set. There's lots of cute little mushrooms, several different sayings, a flower. It does come with a die set also that you can get. Here in the newsletter tells a little bit about Cindy Sartan, who is the owner of Dare to be Artsy, which is where Crafty Gnome comes from. And here is my link that you can use if you would like to purchase her or any of the other great stamps and dies from Dare to be Artsy. If you love gnomes, they also have Gnelie Gnome is her name. They also have Gnelie in a set called Flower Gnome, which has some other great, another picture of Gnelie, and then some other great sayings like happy birthday. So anyhow, I appreciate you using my affiliate link. That is how you're able to help support me and all my endeavors and just sharing our love for creating. In the idea sheet, here is the card that we are doing today, the color combination, but you could also, if you still have just the vintage pastels, you could do Gnelie in using those also. So let's go ahead and get started. Here is our instruction sheet, and I've already stamped Gnelie for you guys on watercolor paper using Catherine Pooler's Midnight ink. I've got my paper towel ready, and we can get started. You can see I love these colors. Look at this, you guys. I use this set a lot. It's just so fun. So first, what we're gonna do is her skin tone. So you might be thinking, Jan, I don't really see any colors in this that can use for skin tone. So what we want to do first is go ahead and squeeze some water into our brush and wet her face. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use our palette here, and we're going to mix. I mixed some coconut and a little bit of tiki in there, and we're going to just add lots of water. And we've wet her face, so now we can go ahead. Oh, that's a little bit too yellow, so I want to add some more brown in there. Add more water. She's got a nice tan going on. Now remember, this is going to lighten up. And now we can go ahead and grab some to do her ears. And if you still think it's too dark, take some of the ink or the water, the color off onto your paper towel, and you can grab some more of that color off there. And then you want to come down into her neck and do her hands. And just very lightly adding some color in there, and then her knees above her sock there. Wipe off your brush, and then we're going to come into 19, which is Patea, and I have some over here, and I'm just putting lots of water in there, getting it real nice and wet, and I'm going to come back and do a little circle onto her cheeks. It's going to spread because I did not dry it. If you want to dry it first, you're going to get more of a circle look, I guess you could say. Watercolor is all about whether you add it wet or dry, and it doesn't matter. It's just going to give you a different look. So, and then for her nose, I went into hibiscus, and you can see I have some here, and I kind of added some of the pitaya. I didn't want it real orangish red, but this is for her nose. You have to be careful not to go too close to the edge because it is wet. It might seep into the other parts, which it is. So I'm going to just take that off. See, I'm just getting that color off from her face. And I'm going to go ahead and use my heat tool to dry that. You can see I should have dried it before I did her nose. But it's a beauty in watercolor. You can fix it. So just kind of like in the Copics, where we have our blender and we're pushing that color back in, we're doing the same thing with a little bit of water here. Don't want to get too wet. And grabbing that. How fun! So now if you wanted to darken up her face a little bit again, you could. But I also think that you can get it muddy too, so you might want to be careful in doing this. Okay. Let's dry that good. Oh, see, it looks like now. You know what I found? When you play with the watercolor, you can almost get a real Copic look with these as you play with it more. The more you play with it, the less watercolor look you're going to get, I guess I can say. So it really, there is no right or wrong. It really depends on what look you want. If you want to look more water or more Copic-like and blended, then just keep using your brush with very little water to maneuver that color on there. If you want more of a watercolor look, then add more water. So I hope that helps. All right, so I want to, because I touched it again, I'm going to just go ahead and make sure this is good and dry. Because we're going to go onto the hair, and I do not want that to go into her face. So we're going to go ahead, we start with a clean brush, added some water into the bristles, and we're just going to go ahead and get her hair wet. Now I'm curious how these watercolor brushes are working for you guys, or are you using a cup of water and just a regular paintbrush? Because either way is fine. It's totally on preference. You might have a little bit more control using these. Take a little getting used to. So you might feel like you have more control by using just a paintbrush and a glass of water. So really would love to hear how things are going for you guys in our discussion group. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Tiki. You can see I've really used my palette here, adding some water, squeezing some water down into my palette or my bristles, and then I'm going to just come in and color all of her hair with the Tiki. Now I have done this one several times, and she never comes out the same way when it comes to watercolor. We're just bringing this color down into her hair, and then we're going to come back and add some highlights and lowlights to her hair. So I've got very little water in the bristles of my brush, which give me more control. Now remember, as we're adding more water to this, we're diluting it. We want the same, basically the same color. So that's why I went ahead and went into my palette a little bit to add more pigment into my water over there. Because I want it pretty much the same color on both sides of her head. I mean, I guess she could come to a pretty... She is crafty, so she might be going to a really neat hairstylist and doing different colors on each side. But for this card, we want her hair to match on both sides of her head. So now, again, depending on the look that you want, you could go ahead and add in some more. I'm squeezing a lot of water here. You could go ahead and add in, now with it wet, I mean, my card isn't real wet anyhow, and we're just bringing in some layers on these chunks of hair, kind of going with the, that's going to be dark there behind your neck. So we're just adding some nice low lights and leaving the first color for highlight. And you could, if you wanted her to be a blonde gnome, you could use the coconut and the pineapple colors too. It's totally on preference. So now I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to just go ahead and dry it, heat set it. And you can see how it has a much more watercolor look. So now if you wanted, you could come back in and soften some of these edges. You could add more color. So how are you guys doing? Are you ready for Easter? I am not. We're supposed to be having company, but my kitchen is still tore apart. So there was a big chunk of color there, and I was able to move it around with my brush. So I think that looks good. I'll go ahead and just heat dry that again. And that still is giving us a nice watercolor look. Yeah, pretty, but you're seeing the different depths of the color in her hair, so it's so cool. Okay, so now we're going to go on to step 3. I've cleaned out my brush real good, and we're going to go to number 15, which is Hurricane. And I kind of ran out of color or room over here on my palette, so I just moved down here. You could also just take that paper out and use over here too. There's lots of room. Okay, so I'm squeezing, adding a little water in there, so I don't want it real dark. Oh, and you can see I didn't add the water first. So I'm going to have less of that watercolor look. Because when you add the water and then you just dab the color into it, it like spreads and gives you lots of really cool design. But that's okay. So we're just coming in here. These brushes from Prima are flat, and I almost think that for her it would have been nice to have had a more round brush. This works. I just use the tip when I'm trying to get into a smaller area. So it works, but I think a round brush would have been nice. So we're going to add just a base for her shoes using our hurricane. And then we could come back in, bring in some more color down here. We want this to be really nice and rich. Now I'm going to come in and add some shadowing. So I'm going to start from that little band and just kind of go up. And then come down. Add some more color in there, squeeze in some water. And then do the same thing on the top of the shoes, kind of a shadow from her body. So for those of you that are watching this video earlier in the month, it might not reach you. You might not have gotten your kit yet by Easter. However, hopefully by next week you will have, and you'll had a chance to watch this. And this will be a reminder to get on to the Great Lakes Scrapbook event, the volume event for April. And I am going to be doing another presentation Saturday, April 10th at 4:15. So I hope to see you guys there. And you could always come to our Facebook page, the Creative Frugal Wonder Woman Facebook page, and I'll have a link there as well if you're having trouble finding it. So now again, if that was too harsh, if the lines are too harsh for you and you want, after you've let it dry, you can come back in and soften those lines with just a plain brush with a little bit of water. Same down here in her shoes. Fun, 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 fun. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Okay, so step 4, now we're going to go on to her dress. This was so fun, but I've done it a couple different ways. I've done it just the pink with it dry, and then I've done it with wetting it and then adding the color in. And I like it better. I love her dress better when I wet first. So we're going to come in with just a wet brush and add some water. I skipped over her belt, so we'll do that a different color. Now we're going to go into Sunset, which is number 22, this one right here. Get it really nice and wet. And bring in this color. I could have actually used more water on my base. That's okay. Like I said, I think it would have been easier had I had a round brush instead of using the tip of this one all the time. for this particular picture that we're doing. There's a lot of detail here on Gnelie. But she's just so cute. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the water or the color off onto my paper towel. And I'm going to take some of this color up because I really want here on her stomach. I want in a little here on her. That's where the highlight's going to be from the natural light source. So I want to lighten that up a bit. And I could just leave it like that. It's able to, there we go. Isn't she cute? Oh my gosh. Or you could come in with a little more color and add another layer. They've got real strong pigment here. Nice, beautiful, rich colors in this palette. I just love them. And just added some more texture and detail. So make sure that you're squeezing lots of water. Uh-oh, I'm almost out of water. Into your pen. I did not fill up my before I started the video. I'm so sorry. Oh. All right, well, I think you guys missed that off camera, but I got water everywhere. Down my sleeve. But that's all right. I can continue with the video because I have water in my brush again. All right, jeez, oh Pete. I've had such a difficult time this month with my video. I hate to stop it and start over. I would rather get water all over myself. All right, sorry about that. I digressed. Now we're on to step 5, and we're gonna just finish up some detail here. 16 is Parrot. It's a beautiful green here. You can see I have a lot over here already, and we're gonna just use that in the that band there in the leaves for the flowers. It's just a cool color. There is another green. It's called Palms. Actually, there's 2 other ones, and then there's Island. But I'm in love with this Parrot color. So for the green, I just did the leaves and that band. That's all I did. If you wanted to add that into a dress, you certainly could. So I'm going to clean off my brush now. And in step 6, we're going to finish up the other options. Oh, I know. Sorry. Step 5. We have to color the flower. So I went into hibiscus here. I have some over here, but let's start over another palette. And I took it added quite a bit of water into it. And did the leaves. And then I'm going to go ahead and dry this. Because then what I want to do is come back, add some more pigment so I get this real nice and a nice rich color. Come back with just a tip and come into the center of each petal. And it's not going to bleed into the other spots because I dried it first, and it's really going to add that depth and some distinction there, some layering. Okay, so we cleaned off our brush again. Now we can go on to step 6, and we're going to start with Pineapple. That is number 21, and it's just a beautiful light, or it's a bright yellow. And we're going to do her card that she's made. And I imagine that she used her paintbrush over here to make that card. So we're going to go ahead and do the end of the brush, the yellow. And of course, a number 2 pencil here, that's got to be yellow. And then we're going to go ahead, add the center to the flower, and then these little guys here. Okay. And we'll clean off our brush again. This is just such a fun, fast card. I love it. Then we're going to come into, let's see, let's go back into Tiki, the brown, and do the paintbrush handles. Wipe that off. And then we're going to go into Reef, number 20. This is a beautiful purple. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That is such a pretty color. And we're going to go ahead and do the collar to her dress. And I'm going to add some more. See, I have more control when I have more water in there. The buttons to her dress. The ruffles on her socks. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to paint her socks pink to match her dress. It's all right. We can go back in and do that. And we can even make her belt. I think in the instructions I actually did it a different color. But I love pink and purple. Okay, so we're going to clean off our brush, squeezing lots of water. Come back into our sunset to get some pink for her socks. Maybe add some pink in this bristle here, this paintbrush. Kind of went out a little bit, so with a clean brush, I can just clean that off. Fun, fun. And then to finish up, I'm going to go into my 14 coconut. Not a whole lot of water. I should have done over here. But I want to use this as a shadow onto her card underneath her thumb. There. Is that not just a fun, fast card? I love Gnelie. She's just so adorable. Okay, so I want to show you guys on the card that I did. Can you see? Let me get this closer. Can you see I did little rhinestones? These are actually honeybee stamps. They're gem stickers. I love this because look at all the beautiful colors that you get. You've got pink, a pale pink, a couple of yellows, a couple of greens, a couple of blues, and a couple of different purple tones. So lots of options. They're all the same size, but lots of color options. And this is from Honeybee. I'll put a link to those. Those are just super fun. So that was cute. And then there was a flower. I went ahead and I pop-dyed that up. And thanks so much, Mush. And I just did a little bit of background with the watercolor. And the other sample card I did the mushrooms. So just for you. This is just a whatever you want to use it for card. But after I watercolored her, I'm going to try and get a good shot of this. It just doesn't do it justice. You cannot see. Darn. I wish you guys could see all the beautiful shimmer on her. So I painted the background and then I painted Gnelie and I pop-dotted her up, okay, or did my cherry foam tape, and I used the dimensions to pop her up. But before I did that, I used my sheer shimmer spritz and I spritzed her first. And then I cut her out and popped her up on this. And what that did, it just gave her a little sparkle and shimmer, and she's just gorgeous. So you don't want to use a shimmer like your Stella Wink of Stella brushes on watercolor, because that's going to adjust what you did. This is a spritz, so you can just spray it, and it's not going to affect what you've colored. Okay, everything's going to stay the same. Where if you used a brush, then that's going to move your color around. So you don't want to do that. So that's why I have two different things. Actually, I have more than two, but I love shimmer. But that just really added a lot. So anyhow, I hope you guys have enjoyed this month's watercolor brush, watercolor club. And I can't wait to see. I would love to hear in the discussion group how you guys are doing, any problems that you're having, any fun techniques that you've discovered, and I want to see your cards. So I hope you have a blessed Easter if you get to watch this before Easter, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Have a blessed day. Bye now.